if you are a people pleaser focused on getting from them the recognition and validation that comes with pleasing, that you're actually just a whiny little bitch.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Jeff Hileman Project. I am Jessica Hileman, and I am seated next to the one and only, although you probably cannot recognize him because he is now caterpillarless.
Naked mole rat.
But look, I'm drinking out of my great mustaches cup, and it's got like the number 12 is, I don't even know who, but it tells you who they are on the bottom of the mug, by the way.
Nice.
But anyways, I happen to think it's a lot more kissable, but I understand you feel like you are not yourself.
I miss it.
You miss it.
I shaved it.
I didn't even go back to see the comments when we asked what everybody thought, if you should keep it or not, if there were any comments. But
thanks for commenting.
If you did comment for him to keep it or to get rid of it, typically it seems to be the majority of the census whenever you ask a question like that is to always do the opposite. So they were probably all saying, shave it, shave it. But anyways, thank you for being on your show today.
Yes. I made it to my show.
we're a little more jubilant today. We just got back from an anniversary trip celebrating our 30th year, 29th anniversary. The beginning of our 30th year of both
We're in our 30th year,
knowing
right
each other and being married.
Yes.
So congratulations, honey.
We made it to almost 30 years.
How's your longest relationship going so far?
Longest relationship's going pretty good.
Yeah.
Yep.
Are you in it for the long haul?
It's a long test drive, but I think we're going to make it.
So folks, back when we got married in the 90s, the trend was
before the turn of the millennium.
Not only was the trend, for some reason, everybody dressed like they were 80. Like everybody, like 20-year-olds were wearing suits and ties,
white shirt,
and
black
it was so. Not only did we all dress like we were supposed to be grown-ups in our 20s, but there was this trend of like not having traditional vows, and so you would like say, you just like said things like, "Oh, I love you." So I don't ever remember saying "till death do us part," but because there was like something about golf in the wedding vows. So I don't really remember.
We got married from a cheap pastor with a church that was free.
Yeah, but I just don't really remember what we said. And then also the video was like somebody recorded it, but everything, because we were broke, was like friends doing things. And so a friend had recorded it on VHS at the time, but it was like highlights, because you couldn't record endless hours of a wedding back then. It was like you could only get 2 minutes here, 3 minutes there, or she's lighting the candle, let's record that section. Like so
no drones.
I seriously, I've got no recollection as to what was said.
We have wedding photos though.
Yeah, I just don't know what we said. My point to bringing this up for those listeners, for our listeners and those watching, is should you choose to get married moving forward, there are some aspects of tradition, like saying "till death us do part," that have stood the test of time for a reason, and you might want to do some things traditionally, because at least after 30 years of being married, you will have remembered what you did and what you said and what you agreed to. How about that?
How about that?
But we went to Harris Ranch, and can you tell? I mean, do you remember anything about like the family or how long Harris Ranch has been?
It was originally the family. I think it was Jack Harris was the guy that started it. I think he farmed in Oklahoma or Kansas, and then made his way out to Los Angeles, and then back into San Joaquin Valley. And they started with 300 acres, and they just kept growing.
But it was like cattle, and then he got into race horses.
Well, it was cattle, and then they started farming crops, and then they did an acquisition in the 80s of almond trees. So they bought 5,000 acres of almond trees, and they've got 17,000 acres under management right now, which is, I mean, you think about 17,000 acres. 640 acres is a mile squared. So you drive a mile that way, and then you drive a mile that way, and then you drive a mile back and a mile over.
I'm just trying to think, like, how many
That's
Disneylands
20
is that? Because Disneyland to me always seems like so much land in LA.
Oh, Disneyland's like a couple hundred acres.
Wow. So Harris Ranch
is like
a town,
100
like
times
a city.
that. Yeah. Yeah. Maybe not 100, but you figure. I think Disneyland's like 250 acres.
Andrew, you got a phone over there?
Yeah, he'll figure it out.
Andrew will figure it out for us.
I think Disneyland is about 250 or 300 acres in Orange County. So a square mile is double that to get to 650. So you figure 30 times that. So it's whatever 2 times 30. 60 times the size of Disneyland. So maybe not 100, but close.
Yeah, Harris Ranch is 800 acres, and
that's the primary.
But
their holdings, their entire holdings are 17,000 plus another 5,000 for the almonds, so it's 22,000 total.
Wow,
they've got to be one of the biggest producers of foodstuffs in the U.S. It's massive.
The Disneyland in Anaheim, including the resort, is 500 acres.
500 acres. Okay.
So the active ranch, which has probably got the lodge and the whatever, the people and all the things, is like 800 acres.
And
then their holdings are up to
22,000 acres total.
So this
beautiful.
little ranch in the middle, if you are from California, if you've been through California, if you own a Tesla, you know Harris Ranch.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's got the most Tesla superchargers on I-5. It's right off of I-5. And it's the place when you're driving from northern to southern or southern to northern where you smell cow the strongest and you go, oh, wow, we're in Harris Ranch. But I must say, staying at the resort, you barely smell the smell. And when it comes, either you get used to it or just wafts through.
Bad.
It's not bad. It's not bad at all. And I really don't want to oversell it because it's so beautifully kept quiet, and it's like this little oasis of 98 degrees. It's almost as hot as Palm Springs, but it's only 2 hours away from where we live. So it's pretty cool, and it was a great trip.
They have a great resort. They have a 3-story hotel with a perfect Olympic-sized swimming pool. I mean, the old school Olympic-sized swimming pool, which I think is 25 yards. 25 yards, 50 yards. I think it's a 50-yard long Olympic swimming pool. And then it's surrounded by the hotel. The pool is in the middle of the
Mission style. It looks like it's from the 30s, 40s. It's like when there's when you go into the kitchen to go to the restaurants, you'll see all these photos of equestrian, like of race horses and the green and the white checkered jockey.
The theme is all around
suits,
horse racing,
and it's very quintessential time. It's a very back in time kind of aristocracy of America when racing and heading into the Great Depression and then pulling out of the Great Depression.
It'd be interesting to see. I could probably run ChatGPT analytics on it, but I wonder if Seabiscuit raced against any of Jack Harris's horses in that era.
I almost feel like Seabiscuit might have been earlier. I don't know.
I think Seabiscuit was 20s.
Yeah,
20s and 30s.
It seems like, the Prime Steakhouse, it said, was founded in 1977. So I don't know where the bulk of the wealth was, but it would be pretty cool. It's a cool place. You guys should check it out. And speaking of our 30th anniversary and things standing the test of time, I was thinking as we were going into today's episode, in 1995, whether he published it himself or it was published by a publishing house, but Sam Snead's book, Golf Begins at 40, was published in 1995.
Okay.
And so what he talks about in this book, Golf Begins at 40, is that you're really, you're at your best mental state. You've been able, it really speaks to the fact that golf and maturity and the ability to not be disrupted emotionally on the golf course plays a huge part into your ability to play golf and play it well. And then there's other things like being able to, just your body as it gets older and how you can loosen up and stuff. So, but the point of this episode is, honey, what do you feel in your life now that you're 10 years post turning 40?
If golf began for me at 50,
what
golf
do you
began for me
feel
at 40,
like
then I should get started.
I think that our listeners would be interested in, because we have a lot of 30 to 40 something.
35-year-old male
is the demographic. What do you feel began at 40 for you? Like, you could say something began at 40 for me, or in your 40s. You're now in your 50s, so you can't really speak to how life is going to be in the 50s. Maybe when you're 60, we'll talk about how life was at your 50s. But what began at 40 for you?
I was born in 74, so 84, 94, 04, 14, 2014. I would have turned 40 at the end of 2014. Is that right? Yeah, so my first year as a 40-year-old would have been 2015. Let's see, we had 6 kids by then. So I was pretty good at being a dad.
Well, you had one child in your 40s. Like, you actually went through the birthing process. You went through having a kid. She's now 8. So during that 40 to 50 span, you had a child. So you can identify with other people in their 40s who are just having their first kid.
Let's talk 2015, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. We'll talk about like what I did during that decade. 21, 22, 23.
And while you're putting that together,
I just turned 50. So, yeah.
I've been thinking about it because I'm reading my mom's, basically her autobiography and her memoirs. And it's going through in her book, it's going through so quickly. It's like, one chapter is a person's 15-year time frame in one chapter. And I'm reading it going, why am I struggling to get, like what is this feeling that I'm feeling reading it? And the reason why I'm feeling not at odds, but like, oh man, reading it isn't because she's an excellent writer. She writes well, but it's because it's so quick. It's like so much of that time was spent in the curating and the developing. And so to read it in like a quick couple of pages, it's like, aw, it's just like, aw. So it made me think about all the little old men and the little old ladies, how when you ask them something, they want to take forever to explain it. And it seems like the younger we are, we're so quick. We're quick to do everything. We want a quick answer. We want a quick story. We want a quick. And I'm beginning to realize now in my 40s, the value of things taking a long time, and how come the more older a person gets, if you sit down to hear a story, you better be ready to hear a very, very long story, because good stories take time to develop. And I feel like when we're younger, and when I was younger in my 20s and when I was in my 30s, I wanted to hurry up and get better. I wanted to hurry up and lose weight. I wanted to hurry up and be healed. I wanted to hurry up and get rich. I wanted to hurry up and do this, and I wanted to hurry up and do that. And I really didn't understand the maturation and the value of the testimony that has been tested. And so I think that's kind of the thing that's come, what began at 40 for me. If I was going to say something began at 40 for me, it's the comprehension of the value of a elongated testimony, a tested testimony, because those are the ones also that seem to stay stuck the longest. Those things that have actually taken time and haven't been rushed. So for you, now that you've drawn it out.
Yeah. Well, you did a lot of support stuff. You worked for the church full time for a short period in your 40s. My 40s started 2015, basically January 1st, 2015. I'd been 40 for 4 days. So I closed a big deal at VMware and a big deal at GE for total contract value of $10 or $12 million when I was at Intel. I got my dream job manifested at IBM selling Watson Analytics that same year. So I was 40 years old and I was making basically $500,000 a year. In 2016, I got Frame Control. I read Oren Klaff's book and was introduced to that. And then in 2017, I was introduced to the second half of that, which is Chris Voss and Never Split the Difference for FBI hostage negotiation techniques. And that transformed pretty much every relationship in my life because it gave me an understanding of what does it mean to be a man? What does it mean to have a masculine center and to stay on that masculine center? And I hit you up early in the year on your birthday. How do we have Nessie in June if your birthday was in January? June, July, August, September. I must have hit you up in September. Maybe it was the anniversary. God, I don't know. Anyway, I hit you up when you were 40, and we had Nessie, number 7, and our second girl, which was amazing to see that come to fruition. When we really thought we were done, was 6, and we were great. We were great with 6, but we really wanted another girl. 2018, I started a $1 million a year consulting business. Was able to travel the world, go to.
So if you were gonna, what do you feel like began for you? Do you feel like it's a concept of self-awareness? Do you feel like
control? Yeah, pretty much frame control.
And
that changed everything for me because it helped me to understand that just because somebody else is having a tough time with anything, with me, with a deal I was working on, with me as an employee, that I actually had the ability to be like, oh, sounds like you're having a tough time. Let's talk about that if you want to, or I'll just leave you alone. But not to feel like I had to explain anything or apologize. Like the total eradication of validation-seeking behavior was just like, that just changed my whole life because I realized that I was a people pleaser. And that if you are a people pleaser focused on getting from them the recognition and validation that comes with pleasing, that you're actually just a whiny little bitch and you have no force of will behind what it is that you're doing. And some people might think that language is a little strong, but I'm using that about myself. I felt like a whiny little bitch for the first 42 years of my life without any ability to like stick to my convictions and say, hey, I'm trying to do what's right here. And he'll remain nameless because he's like basically a villain in my story. But I had a manager at IBM who was just coming unglued at me one time. And I didn't know what to do. I rolled over like a whiny little bitch. And then I came home and I asked my friend Tyler, like, what the F am I supposed to do with this? This just feels horrible. And he goes, oh, you need to read Pitch Anything by Aaron Clapp, and that'll fix all of it. You'll be fine. And so I listened to that, and I was like 20 minutes in on the book on tape, and Oren's a friend now. And Oren basically talked about a pitch that he was giving, that he was asking his mentor. He's like, I've got to close this pitch. I've failed at 25 others, and I need to close this one. Otherwise, I'm out of business. And his mentor said, oh, you'll be fine as soon as you eradicate validation-seeking behavior from your life. And I heard that, and it was
let's double click on that for a minute, because if you're familiar with Pitch Anything, then you understand what frame control is, and if you're familiar with Chris Voss or any of these you know what validation-seeking behavior is. But if we could you please just let's take that out of context for a minute. Can you define?
It's not the same as being validated by somebody. Like I want people to validate the podcast if they like it and they want to like and subscribe, great. If you don't want to like it and you don't want to subscribe, that's okay too. And that gives us data. But the validation-seeking behavior.
Which is what? What is validation-seeking behavior for the benefit of our listeners?
Which is to say, we're friends, right, Larry? Please, Larry.
So it's looking for approval, seeking approval.
The desperation that Van Gogh had for Paul Cézanne, please, Paul, don't leave, please, are we friends? I mean, it's just pathetic. And anybody who is exhibiting behavior like that knows what it's like to be just desperate for somebody else. And the thing is you can stop overnight.
And I think that it also goes beyond just like, because I do that. Like, I would like approval for something. Like, I want to know that I'm doing, like, I don't want to be irritating somebody because the thing that I'm creating or whatever is so off what they're looking for.
Yeah.
Because I'm just this rogue idiot.
Getting feedback so that you can do a better job is one
my
thing.
self-image is directly affected to how you respond based on whatever the thing is.
That's what stopped for me.
Yeah. So when our self-image is going to go up or down based on how someone else's response is.
My self-image doesn't go up or down
that's
one way or the other
validation-seeking
when
behavior.
Somebody responds. If somebody says, I like what you're doing, I'll say thank you. And if somebody says, I don't like what you're doing, I'll say thank you.
Yeah.
And it's being steady. And now somebody's saying, I don't like what you're doing. It's not like I'm just stone cold and don't care, but my self-image is not impacted by somebody saying, I don't like what you're doing.
And that right there is what is frame control. Is that the definition of what frame control is?
Not exactly. Frame control is the other side of it, which says people will frame a conversation when they're trying to get power, when they're trying to take power away from you. They'll say something like, well, don't you know who I am? Right? Or, well, I've only got 10 minutes. Can you just get to the point? Or, I don't think you realize how important I am, or this business, or this is your job. Like those are controlling, manipulative, like gaslighting is another example of that. It's a power play of people trying to take power away from somebody else or to assert authority. And so frame control is to reframe that in a way that levels the playing field.
Or also understand, like I think you said it earlier, when you began to understand frame control, you're able to recognize when it's happening to you, and then you're able to choose your response appropriately. Because frame control to its negative excess would be to now you become the bully because now you're controlling every little. You got to make sure that you have the frame in your control, and that's not what he's talking about. What he's talking about is just being understanding and being aware.
So what he talks about in Pitch Anything is what he calls playful disobedience.
I like it.
Playful disobedience is not telling somebody you're wrong or you're dumb or you don't know what you're talking about. Frame control could be something like he was pitching a guy who was really coming hard at him from a power frame perspective and said, he's in the guy's office, and his office is, 30th floor, and I'm this big deal, and I've got a beautiful secretary, and I've got a credenza and a fancy office furniture and all this stuff. And it's this power and control frame. And he reaches over and grabs the guy's apple off his desk and takes a bite out of it and puts it back down on the desk as a playful, disobedient way of pattern interrupt. It's really about pattern interrupt for people that are trying to exert control. Somebody was coming at me, was yelling at me in a group situation. And I said, well, this sounds like this is really important to you. Now, there's a whole lot behind that.
Yes, I know.
And the person was irate and came over the top and said, no, this should be important to you. And I'm like, it should be important to me. Well, if it should be important to me, it probably would be, but it isn't, so it's not.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't mean that you're not important. It just means that whatever your problem is that you're trying to solve, we're here to help you with that. But let's not make it more than it is, right? This is your problem. We're trying to help you solve it. And if you want us to continue helping you solve your problem, then let's have the right posture here in the conversation. It's a form of boundary setup to make sure that we maintain agency. And the thing is I used to think before I read Oren Klaff's book that power framing and strength was based entirely on how much money you had.
Mm-hmm.
Whoever had the goals makes the rules, right? And to a large degree, that's true. Whoever has the gold makes the rules. Whoever has the gold writes the history books. And if you have somebody who owns a media company, whether it's Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk, they're going to have agency to rewrite their own history the way that they see fit. But he who has the goal and make the rules does not mean that he who controls the context doesn't have influence. And frame control is simply saying by reframing a conversation with things like moral authority, frame control, or prize framing, that you can actually establish agency within the context of a conversation and still influence a conversation toward a positive outcome, even if you don't have the fancy office and the billions of dollars.
And I have not read, I will be the first to admit, I have not read those particular books, although I've done a lot of studying in psychological books, and I've read a lot of golf books on psychology and mental toughness books. And it seems to me that when I'm sizing up a person, when we begin to have a conversation, I always ask myself, is this person, how much respect is this person demanding in this conversation?
Yeah.
Because I can usually feel out I can usually feel out in the conversation based on what they're choosing to talk about, how they're choosing to talk about it, how they're dressed, their posture, how much respect they feel like they need. And a lot of times it's validation seeking behavior, and I can either play into that and give them the respect, or if they're attempting to assert their authority over me, I will oftentimes withhold some respect. I'll give them a little, but I won't let that line go out too far, because they need to understand that we are peers. They're not above me or below me, but that we're peers.
That's right.
And so if I give away all of my respect immediately, then they're now way ahead of me. They're way above me, and that doesn't come across well. And so in understanding how mirroring effect and frame control and validation seeking behavior, and plus maturity over time. Let's face it, when you're 20 and 20, or 20 talking to a 50-year-old, you're probably not going to be able to necessarily do the whole frame control the same way. But you can read the books, and you can,
it depends on the context,
recognize what's happening.
Let's use, if Joseph and I are going to talk conversation, and he's going to talk about the changes in the algorithm on Instagram and how that impacted his business from, $2,500 a month in ad revenue to $200 a month in ad revenue. That's a context of something I'm interested in. I'll happily defer frame in that, because I'm trying to learn. So what we realize is that influence is literally a function of frame, and frame is a function of context. And if the only context people are used to having is I'm a Rockefeller and I have all the money in the world, and so you're going to do what I say, well, that's fine. That works. But even the Rockefellers understand that that's not how it actually works, because anytime there's a disruption in new technology, you listen to venture capitalists, these guys have billions of dollars of their own money and hundreds of billions of dollars of other people's dry powder. And they're asking questions. They're acting dumb the whole time. They want you to take the superior frame, so that every one out of every 100 pitches, they go, oh, AI in this context for healthcare matched against these hospitals with IBM's backing as a primary. Yes, we'll absolutely give you a Series C round of funding, because that makes sense for us to do it. Like that exists in power, the concept of the context shift. And once we understand that the context shift is the actual root of it, that people from the outside might look at finance and money as the only method, I think that's really leaving a lot of money on the table, if you'll pardon the pun.
And I think as we close out, that at the end of the day, what we're both saying is finding your voice. I think that I found my own personal voice at 40. I think that you can find your voice earlier than that. I'm pretty sure you found your voice
on February 16, 2016.
And finding, and I would like to encourage anybody too, that I know that we actually have a few people that listen, hi Kat, that are going through medical challenges, and in finding her own voice, young and ill, she knows her body even better than the doctors know the body. And if you're dealing with anything physically, we talk about finances a lot, but health is another issue. Sometimes we capitulate because somebody looks healthier than we are, or feels healthier than we are, or is healthier than we are, but and then we don't have our own voice that says, I know me, and there's something off in this area. And they say, oh no, you need to listen to this area. And so I just want to make sure that everybody that's listening to this podcast today, whatever your voice is for whatever situation you're in, whether it's health, whether it's finances, whether it's in school and higher education, or if it's on the job on the assembly line, find your own voice and begin to trust God with that voice, that He gave it to you for a purpose and for a reason, and find, like what you have mentioned recently, your center. Get to where you get to know you so intimately and what you believe, that you can begin to have your own voice at whatever age.
And I think it's important to say that there may be some folks who are a little older, maybe over 40, listening to this. This is not about, it's all about me.
No.
When I'm talking about maintaining agency, or remaining on my masculine center, or understanding frame control, this is not about manipulating conversations to force other people to do stuff they don't want to do. This is about service at a world-class level. And there will be times when you're going to do something at a world-class level, and it's going to require agency to go in and get support from people who have more money than you, more influence than you, more political power, more technical knowledge, more backing on the board. And you're going to have, if you're going to get something done that's big, you're going to have to get those people to help you. And if you can put yourself in a position to get the preponderance of the influence toward your program to serve, And you can use moral authority and power, not so much power framing, but moral authority and prize framing in order to control the narrative, to give people a story to follow and to dig into. You can actually get to doing a lot of good for people. And people that have resources and political power, they want to leverage it. That's why they've acquired it. But they want to leverage it for the right things, for the right reasons, for things that line up with their narrative and their overall mission. And so that's where kind of these laws of power and laws of influence come.
Thanks for listening, everybody. We love you. We're so proud and excited that you've come along with us on all of these many episodes. We're thankful for you. We're grateful for you. And we're happy. I'm happy, babe, for the next 30 years of marriage.
I look forward to it.
Plus. God bless you. Have an awesome rest of your week.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.